I'd like to call to order the Johnson County Council meeting for August the 11th, 2025. Amy, would you do roll call, please?
Pamela Burton,
Present.
Jonathan Myers,
Present.
Melinda Griesemer,
Here.
John Mallers,
Here.
Michelle Ann Graves, here, John Dittmers,
Here.
Ron Bates.
Present.
I'm going to say an invocation if you would care to join me and also care to bow your heads. Lord, we ask that you guide our words. We ask that you guide our actions this evening. Give us the wisdom, the patience, and the respect for one another as we make decisions for Johnson County. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Should you rise for the pledge? The pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is approval of tonight's agenda, and we have one change. Item number 4 under consent agenda states that it's coming from 1157, 11371. That needs to be changed. It's going to be coming from 1157, 11330. And that is the only change that we have. So with that change, I'm prepared to take a motion for approval of the agenda.
I so move. Second.
I have a first by Mr. Bates, a second by Mr. Myers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes. Next up is public comments that are limited to the agenda items, and it's 5 minutes per person. So if there's anyone in the audience that would like to come to the podium and speak, now would be your time. Seeing no one moving in that direction, we will move on to item B on the agenda, which is routine matters under our consent agenda. And by a single motion, the board approves the following items, which may include salary ordinances, amendments, additional appropriations, reductions, and transfers. Any items listed on the consent agenda may be removed by a council member and moved to the regular agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that anyone would like removed?
I'd make a motion to approve the item B routine matters consent agenda as amended.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Graves and a second by Mr. Myers. All in favor? And opposed. Moving on to item C. We have salary ordinances, amendments, additional appropriations, reductions, and transfers. First up is the Board of Commissioners with cumulative capital development. State your name for the record, please.
Jeff Peters with Peters Franklin, financial advisors to the Fire Protection District.
Joshua Snyder, Chief of Nineveh Fire Department.
So to give you a little bit of background, since 2020, the fire department has been working toward getting a fire station replaced. Fire station they currently have down there, the original structure dates back to 1955. About 4 years ago, the fire district pursued an excess levy appeal for their operations and the reestablishment of their cumulative fire building and equipment fund at its statutory rate, its statutory maximum rate. Those were approved by the commissioners, by the council, and have been worked into their budget since that point in time. At the time the cumulative fund was reestablished by the commissioners, they put a restriction on it that they did not want them to pursue a building because they wanted some other things done in the interim. This past spring, the commissioners moved to release that restriction for them to go and get a price on a building and to basically get a design and a basic amount of what the cost would be to finance to build on their existing lot. So today they have done that. The amount for financing both the building and a fire engine at about $1.2 million The total for both of those is about 12.73 million. At this point in time, the timeline that has been created is to try and get to the point that this project can be bid in early 2026 in hopes of getting its best pricing. In order to meet that timetable, the fire district will need to have the architects and engineers continue their work so that it will be ready to bid in early 2026. If they do that, they are going to have commitments for professional services in both architecture, engineering, legal, accounting, that if this project were to fall through, they would not have sufficient funds to pay that. So the proposal here is for the Cumulative Capital Development Fund to appropriate $330,500 if the project were to fall through. If it goes to fruition, all those costs will be part of that 12.73 million and paid for out of the bond proceeds, and there would be no need for expending that appropriation.
So we're not with this whole thing, you're not asking for us to increase any local taxes or anything?
Not at this point,
Not at this point.
but to fund the debt service to repay that project for bonding the debt service. That on the agenda that's currently prepared, timeline wise, would come back to you in December. And at that point in time, you would vote on letting them issue those bonds, and the repayment, because of the size of this project in comparison to their tax base, it'll have to be a lease rental with a building corporation. And we've talked before about general obligation bond caps. This exceeds their general obligation bond cap, so it would be more like the school financing, where they're going to have a building corporation and a lease rental structure. Because it is a lease rental, they will not be able to make payments toward the principal until such time as they can occupy the building, which will take about 20 months to build. So it's probably not going on the tax rolls until a partial in like 2027, and then the rest in 2028. But that would be the approval at that point in time. In December, you would decide whether you would allow them to issue the bonds or not.
Well, because for planning purposes, what would the tax rate need to be in December? I mean, that determines how I feel about it now.
The tax rate, when we get to 2027 or 2028, when it's fully implemented, it could be about 31 cents.
What is it right now?
The tax rate for your operations are 15, 14
Yeah.
allowed. Yeah.
They're not even into the teens, I don't believe.
Yeah, it will be a significant increase and considerably more than the operating budget. And again, that's based on the small assessed value that's located down there.
So since you're a math person, if somebody just has $150,000 home, what would that be to them?
We ran one for a $250,000 homestead, assuming the supplemental and the standard homestead deductions. That increase would be about $393 for the year.
393
On a
years.
$250,000 homestead, yes. Also part of the planning calendar, Thursday, the 14th, is their first planned public hearing. They will have another one on the 28th. And both of those are similar to what you've done the last 2 years with your general obligation bonds, where we had that litany of different items that we had to disclose to the public as to the impacts. It'll be the same situation down there. They'll do 2 public hearings, relay all this information to the public, take any sort of comments, and then there will be a remonstrance period from, I believe it's September 5th to like October 6th, where the taxpayers will have the opportunity to remonstrate against that project. If they do, then it will actually go to referenda and won't get on the ballot until November of 26.
So if this doesn't get approved, how would that affect you?
Right now we are running out of a 1955 And the addition on the station was an 87 or 82 and 87. Right now, we are leasing a fire engine from White River because it's the only engine in about 2 to 3 counties wide around us. We've looked before. When they designed the building in 82, they did not design for modern days fire trucks.
Yeah,
So last April, both of my engines went down at the same time.
well,
So the only thing we had was a tanker for firefighting purposes. Always in the past, White River's been gracious enough to let us borrow a reserve truck, the only truck that will fit into my station. So now we have entered a lease agreement with White River to lease this truck from them until we can get a truck replaced. We have not ordered a truck because our primary truck is a 2009. So it's coming to the end of its life of 20 years of being in service. We have not worked on getting a new truck because we did not want to have to special order yet another fire truck that would fit into our station, because we have to special order every piece of equipment to fit in our station. Joel, what is the height? 10.4. So we have to order fire trucks that are 10.4. Most fire trucks are about a foot taller than that, standard coming off the line. So we have to order special trucks just to fit in our station. That's the only reason we're gotten to the bind of both of our trucks going down. The truck that went down, our backup truck, was a 2000 that we had. And when our 2009 was ordered, the manufacturer gave us a discount on the motor that we got put into it. It was a significant discount with the fire, at the time, volunteer fire department only buying it and paying for it themselves. Come to find out, that motor was only manufactured for 18 months. Commissioner Baird and I worked together. He got me hooked up with a gentleman because here in town that was able to fix it. Caterpillar couldn't get the parts for us. They only manufacture that turbo one time a year. And that was the problem, was the turbo housing was cracked on it. Commissioner Baird introduced me to a manufacturer here in town that he was able to take multiple turbos, take them apart, put them in the housing, and get my truck back together so we would have a reserve truck. So we would have 2 fire engines in case one of them went down.
so the real issue is that the trucks aren't fitting in the existing
Yes.
building.
And the existing building is it's a pole barn style building. It's just rotting away. 3 of the board members were down there. They saw the condition of the station. It's just, I've got 4th generation firefighters working out of my department now. Kyle Brooks is my assistant chief right here. Okay.
If I can.
Yes, no. His great grandfather started this state name.
Kyle Brooks, I'm an assistant chief and a taxpayer, live in Nineveh, have for a long time. What it comes down to is we protect 5,000 people. That's what we have to do. On top of the 5,000, we've got approximately 5,000 people in and out of Atterbury. We don't get any funding for that. We've been through senators and congressmen. I've talked to people around here. Now they're talking about putting 1,000 to 5,000 more immigrants in our area, and we have to protect this area. And in order to do that, we need a new station. If you get a chance, come down, what is it, tomorrow night? Thursday night. Come down and just look at it. It's my grandpa and the men that built that fire station, they raised $3,000 from pancakes and bought the blocks. They put the building together themselves, and it's lasted a long time. It's not lasting anymore. If you came down and saw it, you would understand.
So if this gets passed, what will happen to that existing land? You're gonna tear it down and then what?
So Commissioner Baird and I have talked about this. Is it all right to go ahead and speak on? Nineveh Heritage has been trying to build a park down in Princess Lakes for many years. And when we had our property, Commissioner Baird asked if we could possibly on how the building was designed and how everything was laid out on the property that we have for the new building, if we could cut out a piece for a Nineveh Park. I talked to Commissioner Baird after our meeting down there. back in July. It would be donated to, the property would be donated to the Nineveh Heritage Committee for their park. It's a little over an acre. So it would be donated back to the community and they would turn it into a park. In fact, they've already talked, the concrete slabs in the bays would be turned into a basketball court and a pickleball court. And the roof is only a couple years old. The metal would be taken off the roof and reused for a shelter house.
Okay.
So yes, that the property would go back to the county
Okay.
for the Nineveh Heritage Committee. So
Sounds
and-
like you got a good plan going.
yes, so and it would help them out and help us out. So my thing is I work down all of us that are here in white shirts, we all work there. We've worked there for years. I moved to Nineveh in 2001. 9/11 hit and I wanted to go and join the military and I was talked out of it and it kept eating at me and I went and joined the fire department. I've been on the fire department since 9/11 of 2002. And what it was back then was okay, but for us working out of that station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year, it's not feasible. We don't have any exhaust system for our trucks when we pull out, so carbon dioxide goes into the building. We have made by turning one room into a bedroom. We have 5 beds in one room, about from here to the wall square. And then our kitchen's it was built in 1987 and it wasn't built to last. I mean, we're talking about building a building that would be for 50 years to serve the community down there with a place of refuge for tornadoes or the floods of 08 where people could come and gather. The meeting room in it could be used for Eagle Valley's Homeowners Association bowling. Bowling just used our room, Bowling Edition just used our room last week for their homeowners association. That room could also be used for birthday parties. We have people call and want to use the fire station for birthday parties. Little kids love to come to the fire station, have a birthday party, and the fire trucks are there. So we planned a lot of things for the community in the new building. And that's where we're just trying to get to, yes, it would be the most expensive building in Nineveh Township, but it would also be a building that I hope would stand for the next 50 years, like the last building stood for the last 70.
So what's the location, proximity?
It's directly south of our station now, but it's on Nineveh Road. So if you know where Old Ed's Trading Post is,
Yeah.
it's the field just south of it, southwest of it. There's a field and the road would connect into Williamsburg Estates, but it would have an electronic gate. So only us going out with the fire truck or the ambulance would have a remote control that we could open the gate and go out that way. It wouldn't be a pass through, make a highway from the addition to cut through to South Nineveh Road.
Somebody's already bought the gate, haven't they?
Yes, the gate is funded.
Yeah.
Yes,
By
yes.
who?
I did have a question, sir, if you could, and you kind of alluded to it there in your talk. $12.73 million, that's a really big price tag.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
What kind of building are we getting for that kind of money? That's a pretty big ask.
So it is a steel frame construction with steel siding. There's no brick. There is a 4-foot wall around the bottom of the building of rock veneer. We have told the architect and the planning design bare minimum. We're not asking for a Taj Mahal because if we put up an all brick building down there, we knew that the people would go crazy. We're looking at something that would fit in. If you've been by the new water company, Princess Lakes Water Building, it's going to be designed like that with a brick veneer about 4 feet up and then steel construction.
How many trucks would this building hold?
It will hold, right now we have 2 engines, a tanker, an ambulance, a brush truck, a squad, 6 vehicles. It would hold 6 vehicles. There's 3 deep bays for the engines and the tanker, And then 2 small bays vehicles would be double stacked in there. You'd have the brush truck and the squad and the ambulance. And then we have 1 support vehicle that sits outside. It's just a little SUV. So
I know that the county has built some other fire stations in recent years. How does the $12.73 million price tag compare to some of those builds?
it is higher. And we have 1.2 million figured in there for
For the
a
engine,
truck,
yeah.
but we figured high. We know that we can get a fire truck less than that. So that was just the highest number. I can tell you, I'm also the chief of Franklin. So we just got our new ladder truck in this year. We ordered it in 22.
Hmm.
From 22 until we got it delivered today, it went from $900,900 and some change. If I order that same truck today, it's $1.5 million.
How many square feet is that new building going to be?
16,000.
16,000.
Yeah.
So, do you know what that comes out to,
Just
per
under-
square foot?
Right around $700 a square foot.
700 a square, and to some of our commissioners that are in the construction industry, can you speak to that? Does that seem
Commissioner Baird and I just talked about it before the meeting.
$700 is what it costs to build?
No, I mean, he gave me the
Square foot?
numbers of the square foot on the newer stations, the 2 new White River stations and the what was it? Oh, Trafalgar.
Hey, sorry.
No, no problem. Commissioner Baird, Johnson County. And I had met with John Dittmers and John Meyer or John Mallers on this. And we had some discussion on this. And I talked to Chief about it a little bit. What you're really approving tonight is for the monies for them to be able to continue working the bond process, and that you're not really approving any cost, to the building or things like that. It's just professional services. So you're really not obligating the county and or the council to anything this evening on that. The one thing I will tell you, and this is what I talked to the council members I talked to, is I think this is a little high. I really do in looking at the square footage cost, but I don't know why that cost is high. But we have an opportunity to be able to sit down with the architects and the engineers on this and sit down with the fire people that are down there and have a discussion on why this cost is what it is, where that cost is going, and what we can do to maybe eliminate some of that cost to bring this down, which we do on every project we work on in the county. We go to bid, we bring those things in, but that's after many hours of going over the building structure, the design, the schematics, the cosmetic effect in what's being done there, and then trying to get those costs down, which I will be engaged in on this project. You have my word. I've done a lot of projects in the county, and that price will be what I consider the best price that we can get for the building that they need and they want to build down there. I can't tell you that the pricing's off because I just don't know yet. I haven't got into it to that point. But we will be looking at that. But I just don't want you to think you're committing yourself to anything tonight on the cost of a building or anything else. All you're doing is committing for us to be able to help them with professional services if that doesn't go through. Those costs won't change much regardless of the cost of the building. Those soft costs will still remain at that rate.
Thank you.
So,
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
To that point, will any of these funds be spent on proceeding with design build before the public hearing and the demonstration period?
I would think not at this point.
I would think not as well, because if it doesn't pass, it goes to referendum a year from now, right? So, okay.
So,
So conditional.
Basically, all we're doing is guaranteeing a backup of funds that they may not have at the time or they may need help with, is all we're doing to get to the bond, through the bond process once that starts.
But it's conditional, right, on
Yes.
this not being a successful demonstration.
Right.
Okay.
That is correct.
that was going to be my question was, basically, this is the step that they need to continue to creep forward very
Yes.
early and preliminary.
Yes.
And this is something that the commissioners have worked with this team of people for a while.
And again, we have to go on the faith that, this is, it's a needed structure, which it is a needed structure. I don't think, I don't think.
The building,
I
you
don't
see,
think
you tear down the building. When I toured the
Yeah.
building, as did others did, and I don't think there's
Yeah.
any question at all about it.
So now that we know we've
Useful.
established the need and a good question on asking what we're doing with the old property and the old building, I think you can't ask for a better scenario for the Nineveh area than a park being put on that property that's there now. I think it would be fantastic. It would be great for the children and the community down that area. And then secondly, we've established that the need is there. Now what we have to establish is the cost for the need and see if we can make that all work out. And that's just a normal process that I've been engaged in since I've been with the county with all the construction we've done.
And I've said it a lot in the past. Sometimes I think people sometimes forget there's more to Johnson County. It doesn't stop at the Franklin city limits. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of activity that goes on south of Franklin. And I don't mean that in a
Oh, no.
derogatory way. It's just that
And I-
sometimes they get forgotten about.
Yeah, and I think
So-
I fought hard for down in that area. That is my district, and I've been very, very concerned about that over the years, and we've made some good steps
Absolutely,
in
absolutely.
helping that out through the council and through the commissioners.
From what I saw, this is one that is long overdue, and nobody wants to raise taxes, but this is long overdue.
It is, but we just have to make sure we're being as effective and efficient as we can in what we're doing, and hopefully you'll trust me to help with that to make sure we get that as well as we can. Thank you.
Any other questions or
Nope.
Yes,
discussion? I think Mr. Myers.
I have a couple. First, I want to thank all of you for your service. Most importantly. We talked about commitments, going forward and I just wonder if this is going in the right direction. There's a lot of discussion going on right now with fire districts and all that stuff, and I'll not go down that road, but I think our commissioners are really good at collaborations. And it just kind of sticks in my craw that you guys are serving Atterbury and you're not getting any money for it.
We bill them every time we go through the gates. Now, whether they pay the bill, that's the different story.
So in effect, we're building a fire station for federal service and it ebbs and flows. They have more and they have less. And so I'm sure you have emergency runs into there and
About
Got it.
about 125 a year.
that's significant.
Yes.
So I would hope that somebody's listening out there that's at the state level or at the federal level and can step up and can help these people. We have a problem with AV. These are all tied to AVs and you look at White River Township and oh my goodness, and bless their hearts. I mean, they deserve every one of them. But you are at the low end of that stick.
Yes.
And I
Very.
don't think a person should have to have a lesser service just because of an AV. So I appreciate the collaboration that's already taken part, with the Nineveh Park and all those things, but that's I feel like it's the wrong thing for us to pursue this going forward. Now I'm ready to go for this tonight, but we've got to find a different way to get more collaboration out of this thing from the federal government and the state government. I think here I sit, that's easily said.
Well, I can tell you, Commissioner Walls and Commissioner Baird were both in the same meeting I was 2 weeks ago. I don't know about them, but I left with Atterbury about the ICE project going on down there. I left with more questions than I went there with, and yes, we go over there a lot. Yes, we started billing. Used to, when I first joined, Atterbury would come over and give us a check every year for our services. Here's a check. This covers all your runs for the year. Up until about 2008, they did that. Then Atterbury in 2008 was so busy, they had a full-time fire crew in there. They had 4 to 6 guys working every day, and it was 3 shifts. And at that time, they quit using us. Well, then Atterbury slowed down again. So those guys went away. Who'd they start calling again? Us. So for years, we went with no pay and we would ask them, hey, well, no. So in 2000, January 2020, we had a big meeting and it was the chief at the time and myself as the assistant chief. And we thought we were just meeting with a couple people from Atterbury. We had military lawyers in there, civilian lawyers, military people that pay bills, civilian people that pay bills, generals in there. And they allowed us to go from January 2020 all the way back to October 2014 and back bill them. Because at one point in time, they're like, do we just need to give you a check for $100,000 and call it good? And I said, no, we need to go back and see exactly what we went over there for. And we went back through 6 years of runs and figured out, and it came to a total of $68,000 and some odd cents. And we billed them, and they would cut us a check like every 6 months. And what we did with that money, we upgraded our ambulance with a cot that self-lifts and goes into the ambulance by ourselves, because in the history, since we've been doing paid standby at Nineveh, we've had one injury, and it was a back injury from lifting a patient. So we chose to use that money to upgrade the cot system to get away from that. So we do get money from them. When we go over there, we can bill them at the standard state rates and we bill them for it, but lately they haven't been paid, so.
Yeah, what a great deal. So I'm willing to help if I can, make some calls or whatever. But I just think that it's just such a shame that, they carved out a big place in this county for the Second World War, rightfully so. And lost a lot of AV there.
Yeah.
I wonder what that dollar amount is. But anyway, I've said enough, and thank you for your service.
Any further discussion, questions? Do you have
Just
any?
one more, I'd like to follow up with
You
what
go right
you're
ahead.
saying is what obligates us to service Atterbury? Is there an obligation, or do we have to respond to a call they asked you folks to?
Mr. Bates, as a true fireman, when somebody calls 911, we go.
I understand.
So,
Yeah, and I don't want this discussion to
yeah,
color that in any way.
no. And I mean, just yesterday, we went over there. They were unloading trailers and a lady got her leg crushed, broke her leg with a concrete block. And they called, we went. So it's just as my brother firefighters sitting here, we are very passionate and we would not give them service when they
Almost
call.
like a Good Samaritan type
Yeah.
situation.
Any further discussion, questions? Do you have anything further for us? I'm prepared for a motion.
Move to approve the additional appropriation for design cost, bond counsel, financial advisor, etc.
We have a motion by Mr. Mallers,
I'll second that.
a second by Mrs. Graves. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed. Passes.
Thank you.
Sorry, it was a test. Moving on to item D, other business, county council review of estimated property tax levy limits and estimated reductions due to circuit breakers for each taxing unit. And I have reviewed and received and reviewed the estimated property tax levy limits and the estimated reductions due to circuit breakers for each of the following taxing units. And Mr. Myers is going to read those aloud for the record, please.
Blue Township, Clark Township, Franklin Union Needham Township, Fun Township, Hensley Township, Nineveh Township, Pleasant Township, White River Township, Bargersville Civil Town, Edinburgh Civil Town, Franklin Civil City, Greenwood Civil City, New Whiteland Civil Town, Princess Lake Civil Town, Trafalgar Civil Town, Whiteland Civil Town, Center Grove Community School Corporation, Clark Pleasant Community School Corporation, Edinburgh Community School Corporation, Franklin Community School Corporation, Greenwood Community School Corporation, Nineveh Hensley Jackson United School Corporation, Edinburgh Wright Hagman Public Library, Greenwood Public Library, Johnson County Public Library, Amity Fire District, Bargersville Fire District, Hensley Fire District, Needham Fire District, Nineveh Fire District, White River Fire District, Solid Waste District, and Johnson County.
I will make a motion for these units not to exceed their 2025 property tax levy multiplied by the 2026 statewide growth quotient of 4.0%.
A motion by Mrs. Graves,
Second.
second by Mr. Dittmers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, under old and new business, we have approval of resolution 2025-01. This is a resolution of Johnson County Council approving a lease between the Johnson County Redevelopment Authority and the Johnson County Redevelopment Commission and addressing other matters related thereto.
Thank you. Jeff Peters from Peters Franklin, financial advisor to the Redevelopment Commission in the county. I did want to fill you in as the county and as the fiscal body. One of the things that we haven't talked about yet in detail in the public setting is the plan of finance and the structure of these upcoming bonds. To again go back, give a little bit of history. The council imposed a 0.2% economic development income tax rate a few years ago. The original design of that was to use those funds toward road projects or to leverage those funds and use them to make debt service on bond payments, again, to do debt served road projects. At this point in time, the income tax under the new legislation says that beginning in 2028, you will have to annually approve that income tax revenue stream every year. Where previously, when you had imposed like the correctional facility income tax for the jail project, that stayed in place until rescinded. Therefore, it was an ongoing revenue stream. And if you had bonds outstanding against it, you could not pull down that revenue stream. So for the jail expansion, the bonds for it were actually secured by that revenue stream. The intent of when the council imposed the economic development income tax was to do the same thing for roads. Now, because you have that annual approval process, the markets are not going to look at that as a good revenue stream. So you are going to have to secure it with a different source, even though you'll still make the payment from those income taxes. You'll need to secure it, and the security that will be best for you is the property tax base for the Redevelopment Commission, which is the countywide property tax base, excluding the cities and towns that have redevelopment commissions of their own, which will be Greenwood, Franklin, Bargersville, Whiteland, Trafalgar, and Edinburgh. So that property tax base of county excluding those entities will be the actual security for the bonds. And even in those lit bonds for the jail projects that we did previously, we backed that up with a countywide property tax pledge in order to get better interest rates for the county and for the taxpayers, and to get the best interest rates and bond rating that we could. So structure wise, we're going to be looking at that property tax is going to be the security, the income tax that you have in 26 and 27 for economic development will help make these payments. And then when you get to your new income tax structure in 2028, you'll carve out a portion of that to make those payments. Third part to structure that has been put in place is the Redevelopment Commission has a large swath of TIF parcels in both I-69 and I-65. At this point in time, those parcels could be picked off as they develop through annexation of cities and towns. In order to preserve that revenue stream, the redevelopment commission wants to make a pledge of part of their revenues in order to lock in that geography and the revenue stream from it. So you'll see in that lease document, it talks about a revenue pledge from the TIP parcels as well. Plan of finance wise, when I was here last fall, we talked about if we were to leverage the entire 0.2 that you have in economic development income tax, you could finance about $100 million in bonds to do projects. At this point in time, the highway department, the commissioners, they've identified that they need a $40 million tranche to undertake this first part of it. So you have in your current revenue stream more than sufficient revenue to fund this debt service. And it can kind of go a couple different ways, I think. As you go forward, you could save those monies, pay off those bonds early. We've talked about before, in a long-term period like this, these will be 20-year bonds, but they will be callable in 8 to 10 years. And again, we'll test that out when it comes time to sell those bonds, whether you're paying a premium to get 8 years versus 10 years for the repayment. But you'll have the ability that you could call those, use the money that you have collected in the income tax but not yet paid out. Or in that time period, you might issue a second tranche of bonds to do more road projects. Because the initial list that you saw last fall, there were $307 million of road projects to do. So you could call them, make a payment, pay them off, start over again. You could issue a second tranche, or you could use that cash that you've accumulated and do cash projects. A lot of flexibility there. But the repayment stream would continue the same as we talked about it last fall. It will be the income taxes. You will have the ability under the current legislation to implement a new income tax regime beginning in 2028. And it is for the county portion, could be 1.2% across the entire county. That would be probably double the amount of revenue you receive currently as the county. So probably not going to go that high, but you have that capacity. So it should not be a problem to fund that. You also, under that new regime, will have the ability to levy an income tax up to 1.2% outside of cities and towns that have a population of 3,500 or more. Those large cities and towns will have the ability to implement their own income tax, but the county, for the smaller cities and towns, they can spread that lit levy wide, and they have to share 25% with those small cities and towns, but they can keep the other 75% to use it for county projects. So again, you've got another avenue and additional capacity that you could have in income tax as you make those decisions. The new legislation does not become effective until July 1 of 27. You have to adopt it by October 1 of 27. The debates on the floor of the Senate and the House when they push that bill through said that they know it's not perfect. We have time to make changes. So we would anticipate that there will be different rules and changes in both the 26 and 27 legislative sessions. Probably significant more, I would believe, in 2027 because it'll be our next long session. So we may have a different regime when it comes time for you to actually vote on this, but under current legislation, you're in a good position to issue these bonds, fund them as we talked about last fall, and have plenty of capacity for income taxes for other future projects as well. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on, like I say, plan of finance or structure.
I have a question at the county project description that's in the back in the Schedule A. Is that what this is for?
I'm gonna say yes. I haven't seen your paperwork, but Calvin Walls, Johnson County Commissioner. There you go.
Yes, our county highway director worked really hard for several weeks to identify these projects and specific to find $40 million of projects that are identified. So those were all included in there.
Okay, so that's Schedule A. I wanted to tie that to it.
Yeah.
Somehow.
When we started last fall, when this discussion first came about, well, at that time, not knowing the legislative changes that were coming, we had talked about a much larger sum of money. And then after the legislative changes, we're having to bite it off in chunks, correct? Is this what I'm seeing with
We
it?
talked about 100 million to begin with,
Yeah,
but we've scaled it back down to 40 million because as you've heard from the experts, we don't know what legislature's gonna do, but this is a small enough chunk that we can't afford it and to move forward in just segments instead of one big. It would be hard to manage a project that large.
And I agree, I think we need to move on it quickly and we're taking the taxpayers' dollar and we need to move forward with spending it on what its intended use was. Cause we have inflation, we have material costs going up, so it shouldn't be languishing, in our coffers. So I'm glad that commissioners are moving forward with this. Thank you.
I did have one question. Does anyone know, did Mike Reuter, when, the county's, financial advisor, did he calculate the debt payments, in the 2026 fiscal plan that he provided council recently?
He said he has, and we're looking to substantiate that. Taylor's looking for that right now. and
Okay.
We're gonna talk to him, but yes, he's told us in meetings that it's involved in.
That
It's
the
included.
repayment of those bonds are in
Yeah.
that plan? Okay, thank you.
And you already have a sizable amount in that fund.
well, it's just sitting there, as Mr. Mallard
That-
said, it's just sitting
We're
there,
gonna
so.
combine this with that and get a huge step on the right way.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or further discussion? Not, I'm prepared for a motion.
Well, make the motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Myers, a second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And you're moving on to introduction of ordinance 2506.
I could do that.
You're gonna do that, Tim?
Yeah, and it's just an introduction. It won't be approved up for approval until the September meeting. So if you see, this one was a resolution approving the lease between Johnson County Redevelopment Authority and the Redevelopment Commission. All of the meetings are scheduled by the end, August 25th, and we have public hearings at that point. So we're just introducing this ordinance that would allow this to continue and for the additional appropriations needed after the fact. This is just so you can get eyes on it, and this will be coming in before you again in September for actual approval.
So does this require a vote or just a
Nope, Just
recognition?
introduction to let you know what's coming, and it's just basically the finalization on the fiscal body's part of this lease process between the RDA and the RDC.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
You're not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is approval of ordinance 2025. It's amending the 25 annual salary ordinance for May 2025 through July 2025 approvals. So this is basically a housekeeping item for our salary ordinance on all of the additional appropriations and amendments, correct? Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mrs. Graves made a motion to approve and Mr. Dittmer's second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Okay, we have all been working on the next item, which is discussion and adoption of the Johnson County pay philosophy position, and the seven of us have emailed back and forth with different ideas, and Mr. Bates is going to put forth for the public the final presentation that we have, and when he completes that, then we can open the floor for discussion. So if you would, Mr. Bates.
Thank you. Johnson County is committed to a fair, transparent, and fiscally responsible compensation philosophy that reflects the values of public service and conservative stewardship of taxpayer dollars. Our immediate objectives in regards to employee pay are: one, consistent base pay within similar job classifications; two, annual cost of living adjustments; and three, future goal for longevity payroll add-on for county employees. Our pay philosophy is based upon the following principles, of which there are four: immediate equity, ensure employees in similar roles with similar qualifications and responsibilities are compensated fairly and consistently. Market awareness, strive for compensation levels that are competitive with comparable government entities to attract and retain a qualified workforce. Transparency, employee pay decisions are made in open meetings consistent with Indiana's public access laws. And lastly, sustainability, make pay decisions supporting long-term budgetary financial health while maintaining staffing levels and expertise needed to effectively serve the community.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. So the floor is open for discussion on adopting this pay philosophy position for this particular council. Any discussion? If not, I'm open for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Johnson County Council pay philosophy position as read into the record by Mr. Ron Bates.
I'll second that.
We have a first by Mrs. Graves and a second by Ms. Grismer. All in favor say aye. Opposed? And it passes. Number 5 is an introduction of ordinance 2025-08. And this is an ordinance adopting County of Johnson, Indiana job classification system and maintenance plan. This is something we've been working on while rolling around in the weeds on budget. And we've asked Tiffany, who has worked very closely with us, to present these options to everyone for the maintenance and job classification moving forward. So, Tiff?
Yes, and these are just for introduction. We can have them scheduled for the September meeting. The goal is if you approve that then, when we go forward in our budget hearings, it'll all be in compliance. But first is the ordinance that's just adopting the job classification system. That is the FES system that Wiz has implemented, categorizing each job as a COMAT poll. It's just really a way to classify each position that's never officially been adopted by Johnson County, although we've been following it since at least 2017 when the job descriptions were first done. So this is just accepting that and approving that. The job classification and maintenance plan is a proposal that Wiz has sent over based on how other counties implement this. And this is something that I think everyone can agree has been asked for over and over again by department heads and elected officials on what to do going forward. Say, okay, I was approved as a COMAT 2. What would it take to get a COMAT 3? Or what is it? Is my job worth that? So this is the system that it would go through a review. If you look, they are requesting that you decide who gets these job descriptions, the way that they have it set up. I think it's with a couple of council members, with the council secretary, in addition to the county attorney, that's how other counties do it. You don't have to do it that way. You could just choose 1 or 2 council people, however you want to do that. But just whoever reviews those committees, then they would be presented to Wiz. It could be annually, it could be, monthly. Shouldn't have too many, really. The goal is once they're classified, they really shouldn't be moving. And we've talked about that before. It really should be like 1 or 2 a year. It shouldn't be all the time. And basically gets a scoring system in place when you accept how the FES classification system. So ideally, moving forward, it would get a procedure in place where we don't have to do a lot of huge studies every 5 years or so. It's in place. It should remain the same. The only way you would reclassify or do something is if someone leaves or there's a evaluation of a department or, move things around. So that's what's presented now. Today is just so you can see and look at it and review it, especially how you want to do the committee, I guess, going forward. They do have it listed as a committee, but your Johnson County Council rules forbid committees. So we'd have to call it something different or change the rules for this specific thing. But it's just for you guys to discuss and kind of review. And then in September, it'll be brought for approval or denial.
So do you mind if I repeat back to you what I think I heard you say right now?
Sure.
These are basically gonna be rules and guidelines set forth if someone steps up and says, hey, I think my job is classified wrong, or there's been changes, what do I do? What do I do? And I think after reading it, if we do a subcommittee or whatever we want to name it, of maybe 3 council members, they would out front review these requests, and then based on a scoring system of what we've set in place, if it meets that scoring system, then they would bring it to the full council for a vote to go back to WIS to be reviewed and possibly reclassified or redone, correct?
Correct.
And then I also think we saw in there that this committee would last, was it 6 months?
That's the Johnson County Council rules state there should be no standing subcommittees, and that if you have a subcommittee, it would only be 6 months.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be what we want to do here, just because the council's trying to implement a permanent solution to this that's been going on.
So, but what I'm hearing you say though, if we have budget once a year, so if in fact, let's say there's 3 out there that are wanting to be redone, conceivably, those 3 could come to a meeting once a year.
It's true.
Because we're only having budget once a year and reviewed, brought to council, and then all of them sent at the same time. It wouldn't be a thing of this one this month, this one that month. It could be a whole.
Right.
Correct.
There's just, and I think that would not catch 99% of them. There's just always going to be that situation where somebody leaves suddenly and, it's something that needs to be replaced, as long as there would be a way to go through that if it was needed, but not everybody that leaves is going to need a new position reclassification. So it really, it should catch everything.
So I just don't want to scare everyone by saying this is yet another committee that you've got to commit to come every, I don't believe it's going to be that way. So, okay, that's all the questions I had. Anybody else?
I just have one. This committee you're talking about, could it also be just considered an ad hoc committee?
I'm not sure at this point, probably.
It's whatever.
Because that's just a temporary committee.
Yeah, I prefer it that way and have it being 3 members.
Yep.
And then every 6 months, then revisited.
And I think that's probably a good idea, but that's not something we need to decide tonight, right? This is just an introduction that it's coming down the tubes, right?
It's on the second page of the
Attachment.
maintenance plan. So it says draft in your packet. So that's just where that section is. Totally up to the council how they want to handle it. It doesn't really have to be that way.
That point, just a question to clarify. I think you said that we're prohibited to have committees as a council. But we're calling it a committee in the draft document, regardless of whether it's ad hoc or subcommittee, whatever it is. So that language will be cleaned up in the draft, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a draft.
Okay.
However, I didn't know how you wanted to handle that, especially since this one has a lot of different members with the council secretary. It involves the legal department. If you want to do that, you don't have to. So
The only point is regardless, we can't call it a committee if a
Correct.
committee is prohibited.
permanent committee, standing committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want us to discuss it tonight or just look at it tonight and then shoot emails back and forth?
Here's my thoughts on that. I think it's an introduction.
Okay.
And I don't think I've looked at it, but I don't think everybody has had the opportunity to review it and look at it completely. They may have, I don't know. But I think at this point, we should all focus on what it says, put together our thoughts and concerns and share them, and go from there. If anybody else has any ideas.
I will say I'm excited for this because when I started in my capacity as the county treasurer, there was never a clear path of how an elected official or a department head could bring these issues to the forefront. And so I think this makes us stronger as a county, and it's something I'm really excited about. I think we need it.
I think it lines up with what we're trying to do moving forward to get something more stable and established moving forward as a county.
I like the way you stated that, stable and established.
Yeah, stable
Yes.
and established. Anybody else?
So it'll be on next month's,
Well,
or no?
I think it could be on next month's agenda. Everybody just needs to get on it and review it and let us know what you think about it. Offer your ideas, any changes that need to be made, like Mr. Dittmer stated. So, and does that take care of item 5 and 6, right? We talked
Yeah.
about both of those.
And the preference would be to put it in the September meeting, just because then it's official going forward with the WIS study and the recommendations of the council to, you know,
Correct.
follow WIS.
Correct. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, anybody else have anything they want to discuss, new or old business? Nope. All right, looks like I'm ready for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a first by Mr. Mallers, a second by Mrs. Graves. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.